So when you look back at 2010, Morgan sitting in that doctor's office getting all of these different, updates and reports to now, how does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it feels really overwhelming to even think about it, honestly. It's such a difference. It's been such a journey. So many lows and so many highs, obviously. But I always want to talk to that version of myself and just give her a hug because she didn't know what she knows now, and you can only do so much with the knowledge you have. And just tell her that it would be okay. And I think that's also important too, just giving yourself grace as you navigate a healing journey, because it's not easy and it is not linear. Sometimes you'll have a few good months and then an episode comes back and you're like, oh, I thought I was out of this. And
Yeah.
sometimes it just happens and you now have the tools, right, to get through it. But it's something to remind yourself, no day is ever going to be the same, and the only constant is change. And that's okay. We just have to adapt.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult a medical professional or doctor for your health concerns.
Welcome to the Poopism Podcast. My name is Barbie Chapman, and I'm the founder of this movement, where we're making our number twos a number one conversation and flushing stigma down the toilet. This podcast is dedicated to having real conversations with real people to empower our journeys. I'm super excited for today's guest. Wait till you find out the wealth of information and the journey our guest has been on. Her name is Morgan Lewis, the founder of 3 Pillars Wellness, certified holistic nutrition consultant, restorative wellness solutions practitioner, and a member of the National Association of the Nutrition Professionals. I'm so excited to have Morgan on today's episode, where she'll share her health journey, which has inspired the work that she's doing today. From chronic constipation to constant bloat and spending over $30,000 to get answers. She'll share how holistic medicine and care helped her get well. Morgan, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to share with the viewers how we connected. It was truly organic. It was through an Instagram post that was highlighting you speaking at a workshop that was inside of a shared space, which is a clothing store. And I just thought it was just really cool, really brought so much valuable information from macronutrients and the probiotic labels. And I think these are conversations that we need to keep having, especially with all the information that's crowding the internet these days. Again, your approach was factual, accessible, and I would love for viewers just to really soak in how your journey got started.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a really nice meeting. I'm so glad it worked out and our stars aligned. And here we are talking about the Bristol stool chart together, which I don't know if that makes us crazy or nerdy or cool. So we'll roll with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny you bring up the Bristol stool chart. I think it's one of the most valuable tools that a lot of people don't know about. And, understanding a little bit about your journey of what you shared, I'm just curious if you can just give us that starting point. Like, how did this journey begin for you?
Yeah, so taking this back to when I was in high school, I'm now in my 30s. So I always had stomach issues. As a kid, I was always the one who was picking up the flu, the colds, the strep throat, and just remember being on a lot of antibiotics. By high school, I was dealing with these really strange stomach episodes. They would take me out of class. I would have to lay down. I would feel really flushed and get super hot, and my stomach would be super bloated and protruded and almost mimic heartburn, but not that esophageal heartburn, then like a lower stomach heartburn. And my mom was really struggling to find a doctor for me that would actually listen and help. We went to some gastros. They prescribed medications that didn't do anything. And there was just something about that didn't sit right with me. And so she found a holistic nutritionist. And this was back in 2010, I think, 2011.
Okay.
And that was when I was first introduced to the power that food has. I changed my diet. We ran some initial testing, and I remember feeling much better, but it wasn't fully fixed. And then life goes on. I go to college. This becomes relevant at the end, but I had lived in a dorm that suffered a serious flood, and I do not believe they remediated it properly. We moved in 30 days after the flood. There's just no way it wasn't moldy. And that's kind of when my issues became really bad. We think of things like neurocognitive, right? The brain fog, the stomach pains, those episodes, some thyroid issues, just overall not feeling great. And it was that time when I found an integrative provider who actually helped explain why everything was connected and why all these symptoms were related to my gut. We did a lot of testing. This is when my eyes started to open about the power of additional testing, not just blood work, right? The stool
Right.
test, the food sensitivity testing, parasite testing, all these things. And it turns out I basically was a mess. I had severe leaky gut, which set the stage for serious food sensitivities. I had H. pylori, I had candida issues, and I also had parasites. Because of that, I was not absorbing my food well, which was leading to the hormonal issues and the thyroid issues, right? It's all connected. And so those episodes, it turns out, were because I was seriously intolerant, or rather sensitive, to eggs. I now can eat them every day. I have no problems with them. But that just goes to show the power of when your gut is not working for you versus when it is in connection with your body, absorbing, not inflamed, having these proper communication signaling. And so that was when I got into this work. I saw the power of it on my own body. And I just knew that after, nerding out, listening to podcasts, books, and receiving all the text messages, what probiotic should I take and all the things, I knew I had to take it seriously and take the next step and go back to school. So I ended up going to Bowman College as my first degree, and then got additional certification at Restorative Wellness Solutions, where I can now order diagnostic testing.
Wow, wow, and wow. It's your story, the journey, and just how well you're able to call back and like look at how far you've come. It's just, I know it's probably emotional to really see the process that you've taken. Can you share, wow, can you just share that moment when you were told you had all of these ailments? What was going through your head?
Yeah, I was absolutely freaked out. Like, I had no idea that I could fix these things. The
Wow.
provider I had worked with was very steadfast in the fact that we could fix this. I think I had to see it with my own eyes and almost trust the process. But there was also a level of validation because I was dismissed so many times from conventional providers. And it's not their fault, right? They're trained to treat, diagnose, and prescribe. And unfortunately, that model just doesn't work for everyone's issues or ailments. That's not how I got sick in the first place. It was the cumulative effect of other things going on. I also think going back to childhood, right? Taking all those antibiotics, my gut microbiome was calling for help. And
Yeah,
so it was very, very validating. And then on the other side of it now, it's like the butterfly effect. If I didn't have that experience, it probably wouldn't have led me to be doing this today.
absolutely. Which is where our paths connect. It's like a fork in the road, and we're just standing here. Our stories are so similar but different, in that I'm hearing that you had a really strong support system. Your mom, a nutritionist, the integrative doctor working with you, and you were given a care plan and a protocol to get you well. And, just to, share, I mean, Poopism really was built from the really difficult journey that I had to take with figuring it out pretty much on my own. And finally being able to get to a financial place to take care of these things, right? Growing up, I didn't have access to those things. And when I
Yeah.
tried, it wasn't enough, right? So I was given only bits and pieces, like, yes, you have candida, or yes, you have this and you have that, but I didn't have the money to pay for these things.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about the care plan you were given, And even people who are listening, what would you tell them when they're overwhelmed with like, I just got this result, I don't have the funds to get well? What would you tell them?
Yeah, well, I think too, that brings a really interesting point to this. And I'm actually working on something that is going to be a more affordable solution. It's going to be a course for people that they can do on their own, less than $400, like way more accessible than just 1 hour at a doctor's office that will take you through everything. So we'll talk about that at the end. But, I am so lucky and privileged that I had that. Like, I would not have been able to have answers if I wasn't, able to be afforded the opportunity to see these providers. But, if someone is listening and they find themselves in that situation, I think first and foremost, we have to think about the basics of health, right? You cannot out supplement a bad diet. And so if you're someone who's dealing with gut issues, you need to look at what you're eating. And I don't mean, oh, I'm gluten-free, I eat healthy. Everyone's definition of healthy is very different. And I see this every day when I read food journals. Most people, 99% of my clients, are not eating enough vegetables. They're not eating enough fiber. They're relying on packaged foods and protein bars. And unfortunately, that is not going to heal your gut. It is more than okay to use those things in circumstances, right? You're flying on an airplane. The only option is McDonald's or a protein bar. Of course, we know what option we're going to choose, right? But in that situation, like, that's circumstantial. If you're eating like that every day, something is not going to be happy with you in your gut. So go back to basics, eat real food. It doesn't need to be a fortune. When you're buying fruits and vegetables, good quality rice, quinoa, legumes, right? These things are actually relatively affordable. You can buy the off-brand labels, Jewel, Aldi, Walmart has amazing organic brands. Target has their own brand. Same with Whole Foods. Every retailer has their own white label brand that is typically organic and is half the cost of these, trendy brands that are coming out now with health foods. So that really is my first step. And the other thing too is your nervous system and how you see the world and how you respond to stress is arguably as important as your food. And so you don't even need to spend money to regulate that. That's making sure you're breathing and meditating. There's a plethora of free meditations. That's seeing the sun in the morning. So get outside your apartment, go on a 10-minute walk, right? Get steps in. That's free. Seeing the sun, that's free. Breathing, free. So there are so many free things that you can do. And I hate that it feels like there's a price stigma to enter the wellness space, because it is a birthright and everyone should be given the tools to be able to take care of their health.
That was a really powerful statement. Given the tools, it's a birthright, access to wellness and health. Can we go back to college? You brought up a really great point of, this home, there's mold. It's basically an environment you can't control. How did you navigate the diagnosis, the protocol, and the plan that was given to you?
Yeah. So the mold situation, I don't think we want to go down that tangent today, maybe a part 2, because it is so complex. And quite frankly, I am not an expert. I know a lot, but I will be very honest about what I do and do not know. I do believe that mold will be the epidemic of our time, because what is happening now is homes are built really poorly, and they're built really fast because there's a lack of supply. And the current way homes are built, they're just not great at preventing water damage. So that's all I will say. So something just to be aware of. Navigating a care plan, that is interesting. I think there's multiple things, and I'm curious to hear your take on this as well. But for me, I think it's really critical to have regular check-ins with your provider that's overseeing you. And sometimes that means seeing someone like myself, who is a consultant or a coach, that can hold your hands through the process, because the doctor is more expensive. And quite frankly, they're not going to be talking to you about your lifestyle and stress. They're going to be more in the weeds about what your blood work and stool tests are showing, even though, someone like myself can also interpret those. So having someone who can answer your questions, who can look at your schedule and figure out when to integrate the supplements, who can be honest with you and call you out and say, you know what, your mindset isn't healing supportive. You need to get into a better mindset, right? So it's challenging, but I think when you have the right support, it's feasible. And that's the critical piece.
Yes. Can you share what your support system looked like at the time and how you utilized it?
Yeah, I was meeting monthly with the coach. She was tweaking my protocols. I was getting blood work done probably once or twice a year. And then I did not redo a stool test until I went through schooling and was able to do one on myself and like make a protocol for myself. So, you know, the practitioners are always the toughest cases. This is how we get into this work, you know. Which is fun and also frustrating because although on the outside I have all my health things figured out, gut-wise for sure, I'm still dealing with stuff, right? The journey is not linear, I will say.
Absolutely. So, you know, when you think of that day that was not a good gut day, what was happening? I know you talked about the constipation, the chronic bloat. Give us a day in the life of Morgan.
Yeah, pre-Morgan. You know, it was kind of like waking up and not knowing when I was going to go to the bathroom. It would be really lucky if I would have it in the morning. Sometimes it wouldn't be till 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I was so stressed out with my job that I also think I wasn't allowing myself the time to have a bowel movement, which I think is really critical. A lot of people rush in the morning, and slow mornings are really good for your gut health. I would eat lunch. I would feel super fatigued after. I would kind of feel like malaise after every meal, honestly, just not digesting it well, some brain fog. Sometimes I'd have some intermittent heartburn. Definitely would be stressed out about if I had a gas or something and was around people, you know, all these uncomfortable feelings. And then by the time I went to bed, I felt like my stomach was protruded and hard and was so bloated. And deep down, I was like, this isn't normal. I don't think I should feel this way, you know?
Mm-hmm. You brought up a great point. You said deep down, you knew that this wasn't right. Did you ever vocalize it to like friends or family?
Totally. And that was the worst because when people don't, you know, I was lucky my mom listened to me because she has her own GI stuff, but most people are like, oh, it's just anxiety. Oh, it's just, you know, it's so dismissive. And it's like, no, I'm sitting here in front of you telling you I don't feel well, and you're going to tell me it's just anxiety. Like, yeah, maybe it is some of it, but there's no way all of this is. And right. So that testing piece for me was super, super critical in my journey.
Yes. And you say that you most recently did it again.
Yes, I'm still waiting for the results.
So I was going to say, could you give us a sneak peek, like seeing the big differences?
It's a part 2.
Yeah, part 2. Stay tuned, folks. So I think the valuable, you know, keys that you're giving the viewers is the importance of being strategic. Like, this is not just something that you're like, oh, I ate too many carbs, now I'm swollen, or oh, my stool is loose again, oh, brain fog. Like, these are warning signs that something's going on internally.
Yeah, I mean, I love the quote that people say, the body speaks in symptoms. That's its way of communicating. It can't say, hey, I have something wrong with my gut. It's going to give you bloating or it's going to give you heartburn and be like, this is what I'm trying to tell you is not correct.
Or hunched over gas pain that you can't use Alka-Seltzer to relieve. It gets that bad. Right.
Correct.
Yeah. As you look at who you are today and all of the work that you did, why do you think you got into the work that you did? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think just from being gaslit and so misunderstood that by the time I was able to have all these pieces clicking and then started to talk to friends or coworkers or friends of friends, and every woman around my age was like, oh my God, I have that too. The hot girls have IBS, like all these things that we've normalized. It really struck me as concerning. And I just felt like I could make a change. Like I can start to help people. And the biggest thing for me now when I work with women is that I know it's changing their family and friends and their nuclear circle, right? Because when one person starts eating healthier, other people start to notice, they get curious, they might try it, they might notice they feel better, and it's a chain reaction. And so that's also something I'm very motivated by, to be completely honest.
Absolutely. So when you look back at 2010, Morgan sitting in that doctor's office getting all of these like different, updates and reports to now, how does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it feels really overwhelming to even think about it, honestly. It's such a difference. It's been such a journey. So many lows and so many highs, obviously. But I almost want to like talk to that version of myself and just give her a hug, because she didn't know what she knows now, and you can only do so much with the knowledge you have, and just tell her that it would be okay. And I think that's also important too, like just giving yourself grace as you navigate a healing journey, because it's not easy and it is not linear. Sometimes you'll have a few good months and then an episode comes back and you're like, oh, I thought I was out of this. And
Yeah.
sometimes it just happens and you now have the tools, right, to get through it. But it's something to remind yourself, like no day is ever going to be the same, and the only constant is change. And that's okay. We just have to adapt.
It sounds like you just spoke to your, that inner child, or, back in the past. But the sense that I get is that each client that you have, it's like that glimpse of you, right? And it's like an opportunity to continue to heal, that part.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot of, people think I'm a nutrition coach, so what I do is just nutrition. And I would say nutrition is probably 40% of it, but the other 60 is mindset, sleep, lifestyle, like all the things, the mantras, how do you talk to yourself, what you do in your day to day, like, are you happy? Like all these things that make up a person. And so it's not just nutrition. And I think that's the other thing that a lot of people aren't getting, is that you can be eating the healthiest diet, but if you're in a toxic relationship or you have a negative self-image, you're never going to heal your gut issues. And so you need to get really real with yourself. And I had to do that. A lot of self-growth.
Oh, you are preaching right now. Yes, the gut is the second brain, the center of emotions, our neurotransmitters, the vagus nerve, which I know you know so much about, and the messages that it's sending to our brain, like so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's really underrated, honestly. And I think a lot of people in society today numb because it's easier to numb. And I understand that sometimes taking a medication is easier, right, than doing the deeper work, of course. But when you finally get real with yourself, a lot of illness, pains, things like that start to make more sense and heal.
Yeah, I can 100% put my name and brand behind that, because this is why Poopism exists. It's a call to action. The importance of building community that's safe, that's uplifting you, because toxicity, I mean, I have a quote that says releasing toxic people and farts. Like, you got to let those things go.
You have to let those go. We don't want to be holding that in.
Right? Like, you should not be embarrassed. Like, it is so important. And, I would love to learn more about the tool that really was the catalyst to spring you forward to today. Is there a book, a person?
Yeah, a few things, actually. It's really hard to pick one because I think there's so many things in healing. The first is hypnotherapy. I work with a hypnotherapist. This was after I did a lot of one-on-one and group therapy. So I felt like I got to this level where I understood my triggers. I understood where I wanted to fix, right? Or like improve rather.
Yes.
But I couldn't get to the next level. And hypnotherapy, it sounds very woo-woo. Like you think of hypnotherapy, I'm sure people listening, they think of the Disney movie with the clock ticking and you're in this trance and you're out of control and you're not aware of what's going on. It is really the contrary. It's basically like a personalized meditation for you to talk to your subconscious. And we are ruled by our subconscious. We live in 10% conscious, 90% subconscious. We think we're in control, but we're really not. It's like that iceberg analogy, right? The tip is the conscious, the 90% under the water is the subconscious. And so until you can start reprogramming that mindset, I think honestly, a lot of that was keeping me sick because I was letting my feelings control my body. And then that was becoming my state of reality. So that's just, calling myself out. The second thing was learning how to make food less complicated. I mean that in a way of not thinking that every meal needs to be sexy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can just eat for sustenance. It could still be delicious, but it doesn't need to be this whole meal with sauces and seeds and you can still have a beautiful meal and it could take you 10 minutes to cook. And that's also great. Mm-hmm. And you don't need to be spending $20 every day on this gourmet salad that you buy at XYZ place. And so that was a huge thing because in order to heal, I firmly believe you need to cook your food. You need to know what's going into your food, right?
You're right. Yes.
So that was another huge thing. And then the third was stop exercising like a man would exercise. I was doing insane workouts, HIIT classes, TRX classes, running classes, and women are not men. We are the sun, or they are the sun, we are the moon. We change on a 28 to 30-day cycle. They rise and fall every single day the same. Our hormones are way more delicate. We do not respond well to that type of stimulus. It is way too much adrenaline and cortisol. And I would argue that most women today would say they are stressed. That type of stress is just adding fuel to a fire. And it just tanks your adrenals and thyroid. And when I stopped doing that, it really allowed me to heal. So those three things, I know they're very random, but very helpful. And all that is free tips.
Folks, you all just got free tips. In addition to being able to connect with Morgan, if you are interested, again, her company is called 3 Pillars Wellness. Check out her website. Instagram is so beautiful. The photography, just the way that you make food, it redefines the relationship that we have with our food.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
It helps me. I was the queen of eating out until I got super sick last year. And it was God's no, you're eating in, you're eating whole foods. Now, I still have my days, but I have something called histamine intolerance.
Yes.
It is very tough to manage. And even, I'm being very vulnerable right now. I'm experiencing a flare-up right now because of a little bit of emotional stress, because of excitement, and eating out, processed foods, right? So
I'm sorry. That is definitely a challenging one. It's layered, that's for sure. But eating at home, I agree with you. Being able to see the oils that are in your food, the amount of salt, it's just a game changer. And even just for your weight, right? There's usually so much extra fat, and not to demonize fat, but most of us don't need to be eating more fat. We need to be eating more fiber. And so being able to monitor that at home is very, very helpful.
Absolutely. That's actually a perfect segue because I have a few questions for you. Some are true or false. The first one, speaking of fiber, true or false? Bloating poop means not enough fiber.
So what I believe about this is that floating poop actually means you are not breaking down your fat and you might not have enough bile flow. Most of the time when my clients are having stomach issues and their stool flows, it's a sign that they're having fat malabsorption. So honestly, unrelated to fiber.
Oh, okay. Folks, you heard it here at Poopism. So the next question is, what is the ideal Bristol stool chart number that we should have on a day-to-day?
A 3 to 4.
3 to 4. Okay. I know 4 is the ideal, I've heard.
Yeah. 4 is ideal, but I do think if it looks like a 3 and you're getting a good log out, I'm happy with it.
Sure. And I guess since we're talking about the bristle stool and the consistency of our stool, should we be flushing right after we have a movement, or should we just like take a look and see what's
Take
going
a look. Yes, I think people should be aware. I don't think you need to obsess, but you should have a general rule of what's going on. I actually had a new client the other day. She's like, I don't know. I've never looked. I'm like, you've never looked at your stool. I look at my stool all the time. Like, I wouldn't know. Could it be me?
Right. Well, this is why poopism is a thing now. It's a movement. So people look at their data, drop it in the toilet each and every day. And for those who are not, who have different chronic illnesses and not able to, it's just a reminder, like, this is a real thing. Like, being able to move our stool, it could be a blessing, but also it could be something very difficult. So it's a sensitive topic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and look, like, just for health, it's so critical because it's one of our main detox pathways.
And it's huge. It's so important that we talk about it. It's so important that we're able to detox, and I think it helps us to know ourselves better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, Morgan, if you had to leave us with a call to action, it could be health and wellness, it could be related to testing, whatever is on your heart as we come to our closing episode.
Yeah, I honestly think just reminding people you cannot out-supplement a bad diet. That is always the first place, and getting good quality sleep. Once you have those foundations down, then you can start to get into some more of the exciting, biohacking fun things. But really, sleep and nutrition are so critical. And as I mentioned earlier, I am going to be relaunching my Break Free from IBS course. I am actually working right now to reduce the price for everyone, to make this more accessible. It has actually been built off of me being in practice for 5 years now, seeing over 100 women and helping them heal IBS. I have seen a lot of patterns. And so this course is actually built off of all of that data I've taken in, seen what has and has not worked. And as we were talking about earlier, there's actually a hypnotherapy section in there from my hypnotherapist. So she was gracious enough to do a safe place hypnosis for everyone. There's a lot of mind-body work as well as nutrition and supplements for IBS. So it's definitely all encompassing and is an amazing place to start for healing. And I'm really excited to get that relaunched for everyone.
Amazing. Well, again, I will make sure to have all of your information in the description to have folks connect with you directly. Morgan, thank you so much. From meeting over Pilates and gut, makeover conversations to now, like, what the work that you're doing is incredibly powerful.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. I love what you're doing as well. We need to destigmatize this, make our number 2s a number 1 conversation. I love it. And hopefully this is the first of many.
Yes.
Seeing more of us.
Absolutely. Stay tuned, folks, because Morgan will be back for another series coming up soon.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
You take care, and remember to look before you flush.
Yeah.
Want to share your story on the Poopism Podcast? Have a powerful, personal, or empowering health journey? I'd love to hear from you. If you're open to being a guest and sharing your story, email us at info@poopism.com. Visit www.poopism.com or DM me on Instagram.